that's an option. So I have like exactly 10 minutes, which is how I started with this series, was making like 10-minute videos, unprompted and imperfect. I was kind of like rushing around starting it, and sadly I broke my little favorite candle holder that I always use in this video, and I can't get my messy background fixed. Maybe I'll try to do that in like post to remove it, because I don't like having my messy background showing. But so I started this whole thing about like first listens with Taylor Swift albums. I think it maybe started with Reputation. And I listened to Life of a Showgirl this morning, and I have like some initial first listen thoughts, and then I might come back and do something more thoughtful at another time. But I just really like doing the first listens, so I'm gonna see what I talk about in 10 minutes as a first listen. So I'm gonna start by sharing what I know about this album that prepped my first listen. So obviously there were like little bits of this album being teased during the Eras tour, and there was like a ton of buildup. She announced it well in advance, ton of buildup of you know, selling the albums, etc., like the pre-sale, etc., like that. And I think she released the track list ahead of time, starting with the song The Fate of Ophelia and all these things. Yeah, all the rest of them, but yeah, starting with The Fate of Ophelia. And what else is important? Oh, I think the most important piece for me that I was interested in as I was learning about it is that it was produced by Max Martin. Is that his name? Max Martin. And some other guy who I don't really know who that is. And that Jack Antonoff, Aaron Dresner weren't involved at all. Those are the main collaborators that she's had in the past. They weren't involved at all, which like feels very intentional. And I think like I think there was a lot of speculation that there was a falling out that happened with Jack Antonoff, and I don't actually get the sense of that from this album. Like, to me, it feels more artistically driven and intentional to not have Jack Antonoff involved. But yeah, so that was in the background for me leading into it, was that it was all with Max Martin. Max Martin, for anybody who isn't familiar, is a very successful, established pop producer who produced most of the 90s hits that people in our age group were like raised on. So I know he produced a ton for Britney Spears, a ton for NSYNC, and obviously he continued on after that era, but that era is really, that sound is so distinct, and for a lot of us we were raised on that. And so whenever I hear Max Martin, I immediately think of like Britney Spears, I think probably some Christina Aguilera, definitely NSYNC, and pop music. He's a Swedish producer, and that like sort of bubblegum pop sound that we all in our age bracket were kind of raised in he is that sound. So that was a big piece. I really was intrigued by so Taylor Swift has done this thing for a while. I mean, I guess all artists do this, so it's not specific to Taylor Swift, but using features really specifically and intentionally. I think for a lot of albums, she actually didn't have much, if any, features, but usually there'll be like one specific feature that's kind of like hinting at the tone of the album. So I am a huge Florence and the Machine fan. Florence Welch actually was like the main feature of the last album, I feel like. I guess you could say Post Malone too, but that was more tertiary, I would say. And then obviously it was Midnights, right? It's called Midnights. Lana Del Rey was the main feature in Midnights, so that had like this whole distinct flavor to it and whatnot. And I think there's something really like beautiful and special about Sabrina Carpenter being the main feature for this album, for Life of a Showgirl. So I was really kind of curious about that. I'm not a huge fan of Sabrina Carpenter. Like, I can't even say that I've listened to any of her albums from start to finish. There's just something about, like, I think there's something interesting about what she's doing, but I don't think that I don't think I'm really a good demographic for her music right now. It's not really where I'm at. Taylor Swift I've followed for so long that I just am interested in, honestly, this is like my favorite part of Taylor Swift is Taylor Swift Discourse, Taylor Swift Academia, which is a whole thing now. So so that's why I'm more interested in the Taylor Swift saga. But yeah, the whole Sabrina Carpenter aspect, and other priming that went into this album that I haven't done in the past. I actively read two full reviews. Two full reviews prior to listening to this album this morning. I read 2 reviews. So that was from, interestingly, 2 like UK publications, which isn't, I didn't go to seek them out for being UK publications. It's just on Facebook that's I find myself most drawn to The Guardian, who I follow, and the Irish Times, who I follow. And that's not the point of this video, so I'm not going to talk about that. But so I read the Irish Times first, which had this like overwhelmingly positive review, loving it, all of it, and The Guardian, which had this very negative review. Now that I've listened to it, I think it's sort of hilarious. I genuinely think that the Irish Times being like, we love it for these reasons, and The Guardian just scathing it is very funny. And I will say now, the reason why I think The Guardian scathing this album being funny is because she has 2 songs. One which is clearly like snapping back, attacking Charlie XCX, which I could make an entire other video about that. Maybe that'll be my next my next video or exploration of this album, which I think I'm going to do more in depth. I think I am going to explore this album more in depth, but I also think that this is not an album that I will go back to and listen to often, which is an accomplishment, I think, for Taylor Swift, because it doesn't feel like this is like as ear candy for me, which is a good thing for all of us too, to not have more ear candy in the world. But anyway, yeah, so Actually Romantic, a song basically scathing, clapping back at Charlie XCX. Love it, fascinating. And then this song, which I think is my standout track for the album, is called Wishlist. Wishlist feels like a response to I Think About It All the Time from Charlie XCX's album, which was incredible, blew me away. I remember I posted it with a bunch of like Union Jacks being very like, wow, what an accomplishment. Oh my God, this is a feat of songwriting. It feels like Wishlist is Taylor Swift's kind of like American flag response. But Wishlist has this whole attack of, I feel like a continuation of kind of like a slapback at Charlie XCX, but also at sort of like this like Brit invasion, maybe culture of just a lot of different things about Euro culture, British culture maybe. And I think there's a lot to think about in it. It's interesting. So I just say that because I feel like, you know, Taylor Swift was a beacon for like, I am renouncing my American identity and I'm going to become a Brit, and was really like this bastion for all things British and Euro by proxy, and kind of renounced that obviously with her latest journey. And so it's just funny that The Guardian would completely attack it. So anyway, I have 30 seconds left because I have a hard stop at 9. I'm making this before 9 a.m. and then I have work calls. But anyway, that's my first little glimpse into analysis of this album, and I'm excited to make more of these to kind of fully unearth all of my thoughts about this album. And I think it's important to talk about what primed my first listen of it. So actually this whole video is going to be more about pre-first listen. So this is my exploration of pre-first listen Taylor Swift, The Life of a Showgirl. And I will come back with more.